hear from the Bible that you never understood why it was said that way, or what's a scripture that really bothers you, or what's something that's just plaguing your life. And I want to thank the congregation. We got 3 questions that were really good questions. And we're going to respond to them in the order that they came in. And so at the last one, we probably won't have much time to talk about, but we might be able to touch on it in the future. And I just want to thank Emily for helping me with this and for giving a couple different perspectives on some of these things. So the first question was, why is there a chosen people in the Bible? When we talk about so often of God loving everyone, why do we read scripture that always talks about the chosen people, as you might have noticed in our Jeremiah scripture this morning and in the Psalm? And we wanted to say, where is this in the Bible? It's first stated, for all the earth is mine. And it's referenced often in Deuteronomy, as you know, the book of laws, in giving the law. Deuteronomy, the writers of Deuteronomy said, as the chosen people, you are required to da-da-da-da-da. And it's reiterated in 2 Samuel in the Old Testament. What one nation on the earth is like your people Israel, whom God went to redeem for himself as a people, and to make a name for himself, and to do a great thing for you, and awesome things for your land, before your people, whom you have redeemed for yourself from Egypt, from nations and their gods. For you have established yourself, your people Israel, as your own people forever, and you, O Lord, have become their God. And then as you saw, as we read the bulletin, it's mentioned a lot in Psalm 105. It's very strong in the Old Testament, the idea of the chosen people.
And so there are different ways, even within Judaism, to understand what it means to be the chosen people. You can look at it as being, the only people who are chosen for God's favor, kind of a superior position to be in to the rest of the world. But you can also look at it within Judaism as asking kind of, what are you chosen for? And thinking that the chosen people are chosen to have an obligation. That it's not all kind of reward and superiority, but it's that they have a special task. Okay. You can hear? Okay. So if you're looking at Judaism as a chosen people, they're maybe chosen to give a message or to give an example to the rest of the world. And not necessarily all kind of superior sort of reward position to be in, but more of a special task, a special work to do in the world. So besides looking at the Hebrew Bible and the role in Judaism, then of course Christianity grew out of Judaism, and this question comes up a couple times in the New Testament too, and in New Testament times. So some people, in the New Testament times looked at Jesus as opening up the membership in the chosen people to potentially everyone, or at least everyone that was following Christ. And so, of course, the earliest members, the earliest Christians, were Jewish, and they didn't necessarily even think of themselves as starting a separate religion at the beginning. They just thought of themselves as following Jesus within Judaism. But, of course, the message about Jesus then got out beyond just the Jewish people and went to Gentiles who didn't grow up with the message of being the chosen people or the Hebrew Bible or anything like that. So once they joined the Christian movement, then Christians had to work out what it meant to think all these things about God and to think all these things about being, God's people, and how you could follow Jesus potentially maybe without being Jewish. And so we read a couple messages in the New Testament about this. In 1 Peter, the author is talking about people who do not believe in Jesus and contrasting that with the Christians. So it says, to you then who believe he is precious, but for those who do not believe, the stone that the builders rejected has become the very head of the corner, and a stone that makes them stumble and a rock that makes them fall. They stumble because they disobey the word as they were destined to do. But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's own people, in order that you may proclaim the mighty acts of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Once you were not a people, but now you are God's people. Once you have not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. And so First Peter was written to an audience that was Gentile Christians, and probably a pretty diverse group of them. And it's written also in a time when Christians were being persecuted by the Romans. And so there's a real kind of sense of being separate from the Roman Empire. The Christians are set off from the rest of society, and they're sort of united in themselves, but united against the persecution coming from the outside. So that passage has a message kind of saying, you know, you're chosen, but you're chosen as Christians, and it's an example of kind of opening that up.
But in some ways, as you just said, that the Christians are living in a place where they're persecuted and dealing with that, that echoes back to ancient Judaism as well, because, you know, to not eat certain things and circumcision, there were these things that the Egyptians and Babylonians and other people that lived at that time were like, these are very strange people. So in some ways, that sense of being chosen was both a sense of belonging and tribalism and connection, and also just a way of being set apart. So that, again, when the Christians are being persecuted, it's kind of a throwback to that a little bit. It resonates in the same way that, again, there's these people that are being very different from all of the other peoples of the time. Mm-hmm.
I don't have the notes for the other passage. I didn't get that copy.
Oh, it's in Peter. Okay. The Colossians 3:9-12. So in Colossians, there's another passage that says, "Do not lie to one another, seeing that you have stripped off the old self with its practices, and have clothed yourselves in the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge according to the image of its creator. In that renewal there is no longer Greek and Jew, circumcised and uncircumcised, barbarian, Scythian, slave and free, but Christ is all and in all. As God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience." Colossians, go ahead.
Oh, so there's a sense of being a chosen people in that passage again. And in Colossians, it's written to a group that the author's trying to warn about false teachers and kind of remind them of their true Christian identity. And so talking about being the chosen people, being chosen by God, and having an identity, in that case, that supersedes all your other identities. It goes beyond being Greek, that you're Christian. All of that is to kind of remind them of who they are and what they're about. And talking about, you know, God's chosen people in the New Testament in that way, I think, is often doing that, talking about Christian identity.
Mm-hmm. So in some ways, we could see being God's chosen people as being all people. And if God loves everyone, maybe God chooses everyone. But despite the message of Paul to the Colossians, we know that we humans like to argue about who we really think are the chosen ones. Yes? And in our history, Christians have taken this Old Testament language and we've used it to provide both purpose and belonging and direction in our new country. You know, famously, this type of thought was prominent in the founding of America. It was often referred to as the New Zion. America was referred to as the New Zion, the city on a hill. I have a quote here from when the Pilgrims landed on Plymouth Rock, part of our history as the Congregational Church. They were planning to be an example for the rest of the world in rightful living. John Winthrop, their future governor, stated their purpose quite clearly. He said, "We shall be as a city upon a hill. The eyes of all people are upon us." Now that is scripture that he's referencing there. And from the founding of the nation, the idea of America was the idea of the New Zion. And that would play a significant role in the narrative that we develop as we become a country 200 and 300 years later. It involved in our narrative, and it involved in our drive to expand our country beyond our borders and in other places. After the American Revolution, Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson attempted to tie the new nation to the story of Exodus, and more explicitly to the idea of redemption and freedom. They said because of the view that America is a blessed nation on a divine mission. And the early patriots employed these various biblical themes in everything they did. And that's evident, of course, in our colonial times. We see so many cities that are named for biblical sites, right? Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, Jericho, New York, Providence, Rhode Island. Those are 3 of the several hundred biblical names that we see repeat themselves across the country. So in general, the sense of being chosen and having a purpose is a wonderful thing that binds people together and allows them to be connected and know where they're going. But at times it has a dark underside. In our situation, it also led to the concept of manifest destiny, that the special virtues of being American and our people and our institutions are designed to redeem other peoples and other nations. So this underscored, as you can imagine, our drive to eradicate the Native Americans, a lot of the work under the slave trade, and also a lot of our colonial wars and our expansionist policies that did a lot of strong things, good and bad. So, and the funny thing is, like, we still see it happening too, right? Do you see this in imagine places where you see this in your world, not just the expansionist policies, but where people feel that they're chosen and they try to draw those lines of exclusivity around certain groups. I remember last year, I don't know if you remember, but there was an attempt by faith leaders here in Hastings to have a revival where they were hoping to unite all the Christ followers in our town in one 3-day event with music and praise and worship. It was in our bulletin if you saw it, and I attended, I'm not sure, I think a few people here attended. I heard from some of the organizers, with some exasperation, what they did is they got the tent, they booked the